sponsors Super League on Sky Sports.
The magnificent rolling hills of Yorkshire provide the backdrop to this week's Super League Supermen. Our guest was born just over there in the town of Huddersfield and began his professional career away in the distance in the steel city of Sheffield. It was a move to Leeds and the Rhinos that saw him reach the pinnacle of his career, and home is now here in the beautiful countryside on the outskirts of Halifax. And it's deep in the countryside that this week's guest has settled. Leeds Rhinos centre Keith Senior, welcome to Super League Supermen.
Thank you.
Keith, I want to take you back to 1996 and Rugby League's decision to move to the summer era and the dawn of the Super League adventure. You've been there from the very start. What are your memories from that time?
Yeah, as players, we thought it was a very innovative idea, and full-time rugby league, which is something that's been great to us over the years, and it's a massive concept. Going to summer rugby, and I think it's been a great success so far.
You had some notable games though in your career at Sheffield.
We were fortunate enough to get into a Challenge Cup final in '98 and win that, and that was really the time where Sheffield as a team needed to push on, but it didn't happen. But we have had some, we had some great wins.
You started to make a name for yourself as a player, this big, young, strong centre winger, and other clubs started to take notice around 1999. Yes,
I'd never class myself as a winger, but that's something when you're thrust into first team rugby, you as a back you tend to get put on the wing. I made my debut as a winger. It was against Widnes many moons ago, but I remember they put Bright Sodgy on the bench just in case I wasn't up to scratch. So, they covered the backs in that. But I started to catch a few eyes, and clubs started to become interested, and then the move to Leeds came about.
Now there was talk at that time that you might be going to Wigan. That seemed to fall through, and then a man that's probably played a large influence, or had a large influence in your life, Gary Hetherington, did decide that you're the man he wanted to bring to Leeds.
Yes, Gary, or should we say Cass, signed me back in the early days. Back in '94, I think it was my first contract, and when the negotiations, when it was time, things had become a bit stale at Sheffield. We'd won the Challenge Cup and the team hadn't kicked on, and I needed a new challenge. I needed something new, to freshen me up. So the opportunity came to go to Leeds.
Senior though down the line will score, I think.
The arrival of Tony Smith coincided with Leeds achieving their first finals win in a long time.
Yeah, Dean Lance came in after Graham Murray, and the expectations were massive on him because everybody rated Graham Murray as one of the best coaches that they'd ever had. So obviously the pressure was on Dean Lance, and it didn't work too well for him. He had his ideas, he struggled a little bit to put them across to the players, so it sort of like showed how we played. Obviously then he ended up getting the sack, and Darryl came in straight from playing straight to coaching, which was a weird situation to be in. You go from having your mate next to you to all of a sudden being your boss.
How difficult is that? You always read about it. It happens a lot in football, and you can't help but think that must be the most difficult thing to do for that person and for you guys, to try and approach this guy that you were sitting beside in the changing rooms 1 minute having a laugh and a joke with, and next minute having to take orders from him.
It's definitely tough for him. Like you say, the club as a whole hadn't won anything. We'd got to the Challenge Cup final in 2000. They'd won the Challenge Cup in '99, but it had been a long time since silverware had been, had at Leeds. So it was a tough ask for him straight away, and I think it was in theory too early for him to go to a club where he's just come out of playing and to be a player there as well.
So they made the decision to go to Huddersfield and take a coach in a rookie part of his career in Tony Smith. but one with plenty of experience from Australia, and bring him into Leeds to try and do the job.
Yes, and he did turn the club around. He brought in the professional attitude which we needed. He gave us a good kick up the backside, and brought in a lot of rules and regulations, and it was a success for us. It was, you know, we cut down on the drinking, we cut down on everything, you know, the socialising, everything that is portrayed with rugby league was kicked out the window. We had curfews. We had to make sure that Tony knew where we were. You know, if we were going out for a meal or out for a drink, we had to let the coach know. You know, so it was a little bit of a father figure type of thing, as to say. But it was tough at the time, but it showed that it worked.
How did you feel lifting that trophy for the first time?
It's you think about it, and it's one of them moments. It sends shivers down your spine. You know, still thinking about it. I've been very fortunate enough to win 4 grand finals, so it's something that I'm very proud of. And people always try to ask you which is your best one, but it's, you know, everyone's a great achievement, and it's something that you'll always cherish, and it's what you play the game for, really.
Well, as you mentioned, that started a period of unparalleled success for the Leeds Rhinos, and you had those 3 in a row against St Helens, beating the same opposition in the grand final each time. That was as dominant an era for a club as I think we've seen in Super League.
Yeah, after we'd won it once, then we won it twice. We spoke massively about doing it 3 times because it had not been done. You've got to up your game, you've got to up your ante. So we needed to up his game a lot, and it was something that we obviously targeted, and we wanted to win it. So, and it was you know, a great situation to be in.
And you managed to achieve that in 2009. Now, 2010, you came up short. Wigan beating St Helens in the grand final. Was there in any sense a weight lifted off your shoulders? I know there'll be the disappointment of not making and winning the grand final, but in any sense was there, okay, well, we don't have any more pressure on us now?
It was a real strange season. It was a tough season for us at Leeds. Behind closed doors, we'd had the success from the years before. Things started to go wrong. You know, there was a lot of things that was going wrong behind the scenes. We weren't playing well as a team. We weren't, in theory, being coached that well, and things started to slip up. And it was a massive relief. You speak about at the end of the year, and when we did get finally beaten by Wigan in the semi, it was a massive relief. It was because it was like it was now over. You know, the season had dragged and it had gone on a long time. So, like you say, yeah, it was.
Did you feel that, we'll call it failure in that season, failure to win a trophy? Do you feel that the relief came from the fact that you thought, well, this will bring some change at the club?
Yes, and that's what it needed. It was time for change. I think, you know. Bluey had come in and done a superb job, done a real good job, but I think it was time I think it was time for the change then. It may have gone on a little bit too long, but you know, you don't take away the qualities that he brought in. He did bring in some real good things, but it was time for a change, and it showed. It showed massively the way we performed and the way we were as a team. Well,
which brings us nicely to the present day, and you have a new coach. One you know well from playing days, but I think far enough removed so you don't have a repeat of the Darryl Powell situation where it's a player you were maybe a little too close to.
Yeah, he's been away. I think it's been 4 years. He's been down to London, 3 or 4 years. So he's had his sabbatical, as to say, in rugby league. He's brought in a lot of change. He's changed absolutely everything. He's brought in his new ideas. He's brought in his new game structure, and we've gone from what we had for 7 years with Tony and Bluey to screwing that up, throwing it out the window, to an absolute new game plan. So it's something that we need to get his heads around. We have to start going back to school. You know, we're trying to remember all these new moves, but you always remember what the old moves were. So it is taking us time to get his heads around a little bit, and I think he's playing with us as well a little bit in trying to find out what we can and can't do. So it's a bit of a learning curve at the early part of this season, but when we fire, I think we will fire.
Well, he's inherited a very strong squad, and that sort of finishes off nicely the club part of your career. I'd like to talk about the international side of your career, because while you've broken countless records in the club part and in Super League, you've also had a very, very long and productive international career. And it started way back in 1996 when you're a Sheffield player, and again Gary Hetherington's name pops up. He was involved in the Great Britain setup, and suddenly you get the call up that you'll be on the end of season tour.
Yes, everybody seems to think I'm Gary's love child, because everywhere he appears, I appear, so...
There's very little resemblance.
I was fortunate enough to go on that 96 tour. It was a massive learning curve. There's no better than going to Fiji, Papua New Guinea and New Zealand as a 20-year-old kid.
And as you say, a wonderful life experience for a player. You've played in those exotic locations. You've also played in the most prestigious games that rugby league have to offer on the international stage. You've played countless games against Australia and New Zealand. You've played 2 World Cups and plenty of Ashes series. What memories stick out for you? How do you see your international career?
As a player, as achievements, it's not been the greatest international career. Always coming up short, against the Australians. That's more than likely one of the biggest regrets that I've got. The Test series where we lost 3-0, but we lost the 3 games within, something like 10 points. It's heart-wrenching to, when there's me and there's JP and there's older end. We've got this love-hate for the Australians, because when you're on the backlash of so much banter and abuse from the Australians, because we've always come up short, it gives you a little bit of a love-hate relationship with them. So that's more than likely one of the biggest disappointments of the international career for me.
While the wins might have been thin on the ground, does the respect that you've earned amongst the Australian, New Zealand players serve as any sort of consolation for you? You've made World Teams of the Year. You're always mentioned by the Australians as a danger man when you played against them. Does that help a little in easing the pain of the losses?
It does, yeah. And that's the biggest thing when I started playing rugby league. What I always wanted to achieve was to gain respect. Like I say, we talk about the fans and we talk about that situation. If you've got respect from your fellow players and your club and the management side of things, then that's all that me personally I'm bothered about. And to gain respect from players from the NRL and also from the Super League as well is something that I'm very proud of. And until I lose that respect, then I'll try and carry on for as long as I can.
Well, I think I can say confidently you've definitely achieved that respect. That'll tie us up nicely for now. Time now for a short break. We've heard about Keith Senior the player. When we come back after the break, we'll hear about Keith Senior the man.
Iron Brew sponsors Super League on Sky Sports.
The Men of Steel are back.
Oh, this is going to be a big one. Oh, big hit. Unstoppable. Brilliant.
Super League 16, coverage sponsored by Iron Brew, tomorrow and Saturday, Sky Sports HD1.
G'day.
Hi, it's Dean, calling from Cyprus.
Buongiorno, Dino.
My mate wants me to rub sun cream on his back.
Holy dooly.
A delicate matter, but a burnt wingman is useless.
So there are rules.
Okay.
The following things are not permitted.
Eye contact,
Scented candles.
power ballads.
And do not apply if he's wearing budgie smugglers.
Are we all clear?
Crystal. Cheers, fellas.
No dramas.
So what did they say?
You have to change.
Foster's. Good call.
What makes a big name a big name? Well, the big names find the lip. The big names win by a nose. The big names find the angle. And that's why we all love them. Back your favorite big name at Ladbrokes and get up to £60 in free online bets today. Got the feeling? Get to Ladbrokes.
there's a McDonald's for everyone.
Sky brings you UK Poker. Improve your game playing opponents from all over the country. Get to your table quickly and easily at any time of day. Play through your web browser or with our new poker download. And enjoy regular monthly bonuses as you play. If you haven't joined Sky Poker yet, you can now get £10 completely free. Join us all at skypoker.com.
There are 4 winners every second with National Lottery scratch cards. Put some play in your day.
Dragon Age 2. In stores now.
This is where men become gods. This is the arena.
This house offers many pleasures.
With more yet to be presented.
This is how they live. They grab life.
This is a man with dreams of blood and glory. There's only one way to become champion. Never lose.
The brand new series, Spartacus, Gods of the Arena, starts Monday at 10 on Sky One HD.
Iron Brew sponsors Super League on Sky Sports.
Well, welcome back to Super League Supermen, and welcome again to this week's guest, Keith Senior of the Leeds Rhinos. Keith, I want to find out a bit about Keith Senior the man, and how your childhood growing up in Huddersfield shaped you to become the man you are today and the player you are today. Can you tell us a little bit about the childhood you had?
Yeah, it was a bit of a modest background. My dad, he was a bit of a workaholic. He was a HGV truck driver who used to work 80, 90 hours a week, you know, so during the week I never really saw much of him. You know, so my mother really brought us up, but as a child I wasn't very into school. You know, I'm not the brightest of kids, you know, be fair to say, so I didn't really have a plan on what I was going to do when I left school. I never wanted to go to university or college, so I ended up getting a job where my dad used to work down on Leeds Road, so HGV mechanic, which it was back in the early days of the YTS, which we've spoke a little bit on, but it was definitely something that I think has made me the man I am today and kept me grounded.
Did sport play a big part in your early life?
Yeah, I started playing rugby when I was 9 years old, so sport has always been massive in my life, and you know, I used to play at school, used to play at my club, used to play football, so as a kid I was definitely sport orientated, and it's paid dividend, as to say, you know, now.
Well, the skills that you've developed and the athlete that you are has given you all these great rewards in a career, and you've experienced a few different, as you would do in such a long career, a few low points. I want to talk first of all about 2004, when the news broke that yourself and another Leeds player had failed a random drugs test, subsequently cleared of any wrongdoing, but that must have been a tremendously worrying time for you in your career.
It was. I was in Great Britain camp at the time when the news came about, and Doc Chris Brooks was on a day off, and he rang me at home and just told me that I'd failed this drug test, and I didn't really think too much about it. So
why not?
Because it wasn't really that heard of. You know, it didn't seem a big thing, because I thought that I've not done anything wrong. You know, there's something wrong here. You know, it's not right. So I didn't think anything about it. And then an hour later, he rang me back and he said, "Are you all right?" And I goes, "Why? What are you saying?" Being a little bit naive to it all, he said, "You could get, you know, this could be the end of your career." And it was just like a massive slap in the face, and I didn't know what to do, and I did break down. I thought that was it. I thought my career was over, and that was it. And it sort of like opened up my eyes a little bit as to how naive you can be, because
or how easy it is.
It is.
With the stimulant that you were tested positive for was ephedrine.
which is in cough syrup and things like that.
Absolutely.
And
And you had declared it prior to sitting the test.
And that's the thing, you know, it's something, I declared it before because we'd done all the checks before and we thought that it was all okay. And one player had been tested a few days after taking the substance, and it was cleared. So it was like it was all okay to take. So there was a little bit of shock in that, but it definitely opens your eyes to what you can and can't do, really.
You've got an autobiography coming out. You're gonna talk about everything in the book.
Yeah, there's certain things that I need to speak about. Like I say, I'm a little bit of a. I've done some controversial things through my career. I've had a glittering career, but I've also done some very stupid things, and I think that's a lot of that's part of life. You've got to do the stupid things to bounce back. And like with the drug incidents, a lot of people don't know. They say that you've declared it, but I didn't declare. It wasn't an actual case of declaring that I had taken ephedrine, because that wasn't the fact. That wasn't the case. So.
You declared that you had taken the cough remedy.
Yeah, the things that I took. So it's something that I need to maybe
set
correct
the record straight.
Yeah, set the record straight.
And sometimes you take actions in life and make decisions, and out of nowhere you're getting hung, drawn and quartered again in the press. A little while back you decided to put some memorabilia on an online auction site, and wow, what a reaction you got. You get good comments and you get bad comments. People say that, I don't know how you can sell certain things, but why do I want a Challenge Cup losers medal? Why it's something that I don't need. It's not exactly a highlight. It's great playing in a Challenge Cup final, but it's not exactly a highlight of my career. And if I can give that, whether it sells for £5 or £50, it's not about that. It's about I don't need it, I don't want it, so it's my choice. And if somebody else can get joy from it, for a Leeds fan to have my Challenge Cup losers medal, if it brings him joy, then I'm happy for him to have that. Well, if rugby league is your escape from some of the negative things, what is your release valve or your escape from rugby league? I've started doing a little bit of horse riding, which is something that is not really sort upon in the rugby league fraternity, as to say. It's You have done a bit of horse riding. How successful are you at the horse riding? You've got me a little bit stuck here. That's the approach to the fence. I tell everybody I'm great. I think it's probably easiest if we show maybe the end result. Future Olympic show jumping champion. Because I'm a tight Yorkshireman, the photographer said to me, she said, if we catch anybody falling off your horse and we catch it on film, you get your photos for free. So again, I saw an opportunity to. So you never got up on the horse. Is it? I mean, you riding horses, like I got to speak to you briefly beforehand. You could never picture yourself doing that. Oh no, it's I hated horses. I'm scared to death of them. A few years ago, because they're big, powerful animals, but. When you play our sport, it's a little bit of a thrill-seeking thing. I ride a motorbike, I've got a horse as well now, so I'm not into the prancing about type of thing, as to say, no disrespect to the people that do it, but I like to gallop, I like to jump, and I like to go fast. You've done over 500 games in what you say in your autobiography, subtitle as the world's toughest sport. How many more games can you continue for? How long is a piece of string? That's it. I've set myself a target 600 games. To get 600 games. 'Cause when I made my 500th, it was quite an emotional game, and the build up to the game, I didn't really think about it. But then when I went out into the field, I led the team out, and I was the captain for the night at Hull away. It was, and it was quite an emotional time for me. It was something that I was very proud of, and I didn't think that it'd be like that, because, like you say, it is a massive achievement, and to the way the modern game is, it's definitely got faster, tougher, stronger. It's something that I'm very proud of. So to get to 600 would be great. I'm not hanging my hat on it, and I'm not gonna burst into tears if I don't make it. You take each game as it comes when you know that the time is nigh, as to say. But I'm still loving it, and that's the main part of it. While you're still enjoying it, you've got to try and carry on as long as you can. And when the time finally does come to eventually hang up, well, probably sell those old boots for the last time. What next for Keith Senior?
I've started doing a bit of coaching with the 15s. It's something that I've done a fair bit of coaching with amateur teams. It's not something that I want to do as first team coaching. I've had pressures of, I think this is my 18th year in playing professional rugby, that I don't want the pressures of being a first team coach because it's a ruthless industry. So I definitely would maybe like to look at getting into a bit of coaching, the junior setup. I was also looking at maybe a little bit of player agents, because we've spoken earlier about the opportunities to take advantage of being a rugby league player, and the difference between rugby league and rugby union. There's a massive amount of privileges for rugby union than there is for rugby league, and I feel that there's agents out there, but there's not really player management, where we can try and capitalise on the so-called, the famous situation that some of these players are in, and take advantage of it. And that's something that I have looked at, and something that I think could be there's a little bit of a gap in the market there.
Well, I can't think of anybody better qualified to advise younger players about a career in the professional game than you. This week's Super League Superman, Keith Senior. Keith, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Please join me next week when I'll be talking to Wigan's captain, Sean O'Loughlin.
You definitely feel the pressure. Wigan's steeped in history and of winning cups and winning trophies, and people expected us to do that, and we weren't delivering.
More sports, news, views and